Hi, welcome back to another video for this series. Sorry about the wear. I just came from the gym not too long ago. But nonetheless, last video we did some AD federation services, and in this video, we're going to be configuring some radiuses. Now, we're going to be doing 4 exercises, and I'll read them off here. Exactly what we're doing. We're going to install and configure the network policy server. We're going to install and configure the remote access server. We're going to configure the VPN client. We're also going to configure, we're going to be viewing the NPS logs as well. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, perfect. So before we get started, just to go over really quickly, I'm going to be, for the first exercise, installing and configuring the network policy server. Now, in this exercise, just going to do that, which is Microsoft's implementation of the Radius protocol. So I won't be configuring the dial-up remote access server, but instead installing and setting up a VPN server based on Microsoft's routing and remote access services. So for this server, we're going to click on the PowerShell to get that up and running. All right. Let's see. All right, perfect. Now this command just it sets this here as a DNS server for SA01, and the given IP address is going to refer to DC01, this server, and it's going to be migrating the server to the DNS server to facilitate this integration into the Practice Labs domain. So that command went well. So we're going to enter in the next command here. Let's see. Right. All right, and it should be this one here. Okay, so as you can see here, the changes that we've made to have this particular, to specify the preferred static IP, and for us to implement the command we just placed also, it'll take effect after restart this particular server. So just going to restart it with this command, not that command. All right. All right, so now that I've restarted the server, the next task is going to be to install the network policy server. Let's go ahead and open up PowerShell again, and we're going to enter in a few commands, starting with this one here. All right, perfect. We see it collecting the data. All right, perfect. So it's just adding the network policy for the command I've just entered, and shouldn't take too long. Yep, that's just about done. Which is going to allow me to actually configure the network policy server we just installed. Perfect. So we're done. The updating is not enabled to ensure blah, 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 turn on Windows Update. All right, so now that we're able to configure after installing the network policy server, we're going to configure to accept connections from an NPS client. And we're actually going to configure this server here, add the NPS client to the NPS server for the one we're currently on. So to start with that, I'm just going to open up the server manager here and network policy server. Then take a look at the Radius clients. Clients, the Radius cliented servers. All right, and see, actually, might be here. Okay, actually, take a new here. We're actually going to name it the server that we want. Practice Lab DM01, right? And we want the IP for 192.168 and 0.2 because we already have 0.1. And then we want password. We know it says secret. It's really a password. It's just to secure the connection between the NPS client and the NPS server. So now just going to hit verify here for this IP resolve. Right, and okay. All right, perfect. So we're good there as far as configuring that. So now we're just going to, actually, let me go back in. Let me refresh. Here, new. Darn it, I'll actually do it. I have to do it again. See, actually, there it is. And just actually go to properties here. There we go. There's a few additional things I have to do in this lab. So just going to click here because the access request messages to contain the message authenticator attribute. All right, so then I'll just hit apply and close. Right. All right, so now I'm going to be able to actually configure the network policy server logs. So just going to configure the properties for this particular server device, right? And the logs, because they present information, right, about the authentication of users who sign into the network through the VPN connection. So I'll just be, because I'll be using these logs to interpret in a later exercise, I'm going to go ahead and take care of it now. So let's see. Let's take a look here. Let me go back here. And then go to accounting. Then let's see, let's change the log files. All right. Then click here. All right, so we're going to format as the IIS legacy. Then we're going to create a new log file daily, apply. Then perfect. So I'm actually going to minimize this. Then we're going to start with our new exercise, which is going to be to install and configure the remote access server, right? So a part of this is going to be just installing and setting it up, which would then provide the actual VPN server itself. So I'm just going to prepare the VPN interface. So after configuring the server, what I've just done in the last few tasks, and created the NPS client, which you just seen for DMO1. Actually, let me get started with turning that on now, so won't have any downtime. So now I'm just going to assign the static IP address, right, and the preferred IP, or rather DNS, to Ethernet 2. Then that's the one that's already used. So the second interface is going to be DMO1, right? So these settings just prepared for the VPN domain for practice labs. All right, so let's see. Let's actually head to DMO1. Looks like I'll have to reboot it. All right, so we got it up and running. So let's open up PowerShell. All right, and we're going to open up the PowerShell so we can enter in a command here. You're going to see in a second. It's just going to set the IP, the static IP address for the network interface. So let's go ahead and try to be as fast as possible. If I can spell. Gosh darn it. I did it again, just so this video isn't as long as it doesn't have to be. I'll just fast forward you guys to when it's completely in. All right, so I have the command in place. So let's, where did it go? Okay, so I thought I had it in place. Let's try it again. For some reason, it did not run. Reset address, Ethernet, number 2, parentheses here, static, and then it's the IP we want. Actually, that would be the next one. All right, perfect. All right, so again, we're just setting the second interface to access the VPN public interface, so it can receive incoming connections from the client. So now we're just going to assign the Ethernet to network connection with the preferred DNS. So with this, with at least this command, this one isn't as long as the other. The other one wasn't too long, but time. My videos can get pretty long, and I can't wait to place because I know I personally love it as a watcher for especially for practice labs like this. I love to get straight to the point, so timestamps are going to be definitely important. So looks like I can't spell. So luckily I can just take the lazy way and do that, even though it's more efficient. You could argue. Let's see here. Actually, let me, oh, my face is pretty dark. Let me close. That's better. The sun. I just like sun. Me personally, even if it's not a lot out, there's an overcast right now. But yeah, so now we have the command to set the preferred DNS for the given interface, right? So now I'm just going to install the remote access service. So to enable it, it has to be installed on the VPN server, right? So I'm just going to install the remote access server on this server, DMO1, so it can be configured as the VPN interface. So just another command here. Windows feature. Actually forgot the dash there. Then we want remote access. Tell it what we want. That's one thing I love about computers, just tell it what you want. If you receive an error, usually it's your fault or the fault of someone else, depending on the situation. But usually the computer doesn't make mistakes unless there was a human that orchestrated it, right? All right, so it's gonna just do what we need to do just to act the remote access feature, right? The installs is 50-50 as far as how long if it's gonna take a longer type of install. Like when I say longer, I mean like 5 to 10 minutes or something like that. I had a few installs that did take that long. So, but it should be successful pretty soon. There it is. All right, so it's working pretty well, actually. So this is going to allow us, once this is finished, it's going to allow us to head to the next step, which is going to be initializing the remote access management. Let's see, let's get that last 8%. All right, come on. I'll need the server manager here in a second. Come on. Would you just hate it? You get so far, it's so close now to it being over, and it just wants to hang on and just make you watch. Just hate it. All right. Perfect. Success. Well, success true. No restart needed. And the exit code success. Blah, 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 blah. So we can actually exit out here. All right, perfect. So just going to go here, remote access management, right? And just wait for it. We got to load here. All right, perfect. I thought I was still waiting for it to load. All right, so now we see the remote access configuration details shown here, right? So I'm just going to, let's see, since we want to set up the remote access, we should just deploy the VPN, right? Because that's what we're taking a focus on. And I also want to note that the red arrow that's down just indicates that the remote service is just not configured on the server. So what we're going to do is actually configure this, like we said. All right. Okay. And then we want to, let's see, remote access, that's fine. All right, VPN, that's okay, that's what we want. We want Ethernet 2, of course. Now let me read this checkbox here to see if we want to keep that. All right, no, we don't want to enable security on an interface. Don't really need it. All right, and we want, of course, from a specified range because we have our own specifics, right? But then we want new, then we have our own start IP address. No, then 100, right? And then 0, 2, should be 21, yep, all right. Perfect. All right, now we're back here. And yes, we do want to set the server up with the radius server. Now, our primary is going to be the first server that we were using. So that'll be plabs SAO1, right? And then the password. Okay. Perfect. Then, of course, we're finished. So we're at the end. Then, okay, that's fine. For the RRAS, to start with the RRAS rather. All right, perfect. So now it's up and running. So now we see the green check mark is now up, right? So now this allows us to configure the authentication and accounting providers, right? So we need to configure this because it just indicates whether the windows of the radius will be used for validating credentials, right? For remote access clients and demand dial routers. So we're going to, let's see if I'm on the right server here. Yep, so we're good. All right, so let's actually properties here. All right. And let's see, security. And then we want all right, edit. Right. That's fine. Okay. All right. I'm not sure if it was allowing me to go. All right. Perfect. So we're good there. So now we're just going to configure the accounting provider as well. Same deal, pretty much. Some accounting on and off messages. It's okay. All right. So click that there. All right. So we just saved the changes, right? So just going to keep the, actually, before I do that, let's move on to the next task for configuring the VPN ports. So just going to enable them, the ports for this server that we're on now, the DMO1 for incoming dial-in access. And we want to remember that it's now configured as the VPN server for the Practice Labs domain. So let's see, actually I could get out of here and we want to head here, right? And we want to, of course, configure the properties. So let's take a look here. Now it just shows us the settings, the required settings before the configure button that's available to us in order to stay with our settings. So now we're just going to verify that remote access connections, which is inbound only, that box is selected, right? So let's do that here. Okay. And we want to actually specify, because remember the previous exercise or the previous task, rather, we wanted to specify range. So let's do here. All right. That'll work just fine for us. And then we want to take a look at L2TP, right? And then we're going to verify the remote access again, connections just inbound only. We also want our phone number for this device here as well. Just make sure it's right, because I did it before. Let's hit apply. Last time I didn't hit apply. It didn't do what I needed it to do. But nonetheless, now we're going to specify the VPN adapter. So from which the dial-in clients can obtain the IP. So to specify it, we're going to head back here, this window, and then we're going to take a look at properties again. We're going to take a look at the IPv4 tab. Then let's see, select Ethernet to here. All right, perfect. Now we want to remember that the Ethernet 2 is configured as the VPN interface to this server, right? The DMO1 that we did earlier in this server, SAO1, right? So the dial-up actually clients, the dial-up clients access the interface to obtain the relevant IP addresses to set up the VPN connection. So I'm actually going to hit apply. We're good there, static address pool, which is good. All right, perfect. So now I'm just going to grant the VPN dial-in permission. So to do this, let's grant the user the permission to dial into the VPN service. So to grant those rights to a user on the domain, I gotta have administrator's rights on the domain, right? So just gonna grant the dial-in permissions as the administrator of DC01. So let me actually pivot over there. Looks like everything is already up and running, which is good. So let's head to the server manager, and then let's open this that baby up, users and computers. All right, and let's see, it should be, yeah, there we go. All right, actually, let me see here. I thought it was going to populate. All right, and again, we're going to take a look at the dial-in. All right, so let's see, allow access, of course. Again, we're giving permission, right? And I'm going to click apply, then okay. So we're good here. So we're good. I just provided access, so we're good. All right, so this allows us to move on to our next exercise, which is configuring the VPN client. So after installing and configuring all of that, that's the routing and remote access, right? I'm just going to prepare the Windows client to dial into the VPN server. So I have to first configure the secondary IP address for the VPN client. So actually, I'm going to pivot over to this server here. All right, I'm going to speed it up for you guys so you don't have to wait with me. All right, so I've got the server up and running here. So let's open up the File Explorer. Oh, I thought I had it up and running. Let's go ahead and get it back up. Perfect. All right, so let's go here. All right, and let's see. Let's open up PowerShell. Please place it in the PowerShell here. Perfecto. So we're going to just set the static IP address on the Ethernet network interface, right? Ethernet 2, actually number 2. All right, so to set it using DC01 as the preferred DNS server type, just going to set this here. Let's see, interface, of course, MP set DNS. That's what we want. What on Ethernet 2 specifically, and the static IP that we want with it. All these numbers. Maybe the depth of me. All right, perfect. All right, should do just fine. If it ever wants to load for us. There we go. Perfect. So now I'm just going to create the VPN client dialer. I can't speak also. All right, so let's go to the network and sharing center. All right, I'm just going to set up connection, a network link. Right, and we're going to connect to a workplace naturally, right? Right. And how do we want to connect? How do you guys think we want to connect, right? This whole time, how do you think we want to connect? Right. Of course, we want to connect through VPN and the network internet address. What should we make it? The same IP we've been using this entire time. Well, one of them at least. And then we want practice labs. VPN connection. Perfecto. All right, so let's see, and we want to allow other people, which would be the other servers in this case, to use this connection, right? Perfect. So now we're creating it, which is awesome, right? Because we're on track for everything. All right, so now we have the network's flyout menu here. I'm just going to click outside of it just so I can get back to my settings here. So I'm going to just change the adapter settings. And then take a look here. And then I'm going to configure some properties. Take a look at the security tab. We're going to allow a few protocols. Okay, allow these protocols. And let's see, I'm going to read over these. Unencrypted, challenge handshake. Let's see. That's fine. I'll just leave it as is. Actually, yeah, I'll click that too. And then, so for networking, we're just going to select just the, actually, I'm just going to click here and take a look at the properties first before I just click OK. That looks okay. So then for here, let's see, I have two screens here. So it's just, taking a look here. So let's see, IP settings. We don't want to use default gateway because we have our own stuff that we like. All right. Just click OK here. And we're just going to click OK since there's no apply. All right. Then just going to click OK here. Everything so far so good. All right. So I'm just going to right click and then take a look at connecting. It's like it's actually already connected. All right. Perfect. So actually, no, it's not. I'm looking at practice labs. I'm looking at the other one instead of the one I should be looking at, because this is the one I created, the VPN connection. I confused there for a second. All right. And it automatically, typically it would ask for some values like the sign in or whatever, but the option that I checked when I had the IPv4 tab open, I just placed it for it to automatically connect with the credentials I already have from whatever server I'm logged into. So yeah, typically you might not do that, depending on your controls, right, for your enterprise environment. But then again, it depends on how everything is set up. Again, if the server you're already using has admin rights, this should be able to automatically connect, or not even just admin rights, but rights that justify it being signed into this particular VPN connection when you're remoting into the company network, right, remotely, and you have the right to do so just to work. To have a secure connection, at least to do your work, that should be fine. But anyway, it shows that the connection is established, so we're good there. And then now we're just going to check the status of the VPN connection, right? So we just want to understand that the protocol is being implemented, right, for the connection and the IP addresses and supporting the connection, right? So we're just going to check the status of the connection between Windows 8.10, the server that we have here, and the DMO1 VPN server at least. So to do that, I'm just going to take a look at the status here. It should be here. Oh, I'm blind. I'm so blind. All right, so I'm just going to take a look at the details. I'm just going to read over the information. Let's see, the NAP state origin. All right, device type. That's one of the ones we took a look at earlier. So I just want to notice that the connection implements the PPT protocol that I mentioned earlier with the IPv4 addresses. They conform to the specified ranges, right, from the ranges that we configured earlier, from the 10.10.0.100 to the 10.10.0.120, right? So the destination address is going to equal the IP address that we had also with the 192.168.0.20, right? So we're good. We're good there. So now just going to connect or disconnect. All right, and I'm just gonna disconnect from it. We don't need that right now, but it does allow us to move on to our next exercise, which is going to be viewing the logs. It's going to be our last exercise. Seems like it went by so fast. So when the Windows server connects to the VPN server, right, it may be successful or a failed logon. We can actually view the details, right, of what happened, right, of the connection by reading the NPS logs and the network policy server logs using a third-party log reader. So we're going to examine those, and they're generated usually again when it's whether it's successful or failed to the VPN server. So they're in the created log files, usually with a comma separated value, the .tsv or something like that. So since the authentication of the client was forwarded to the server for SAO1, that's where the logs can be found, right? So we're gonna pivot there, right? And then we're going to, let's see, open up File Explorer. And then, let's see, I'm just gonna, I could take, let's see. Let's see here, Windows 32. It should be, there it is, just saw it. Okay, we want to open. Perfect, there we go. All right, so now the notepad, it just displays the NPS, all right, log file. So it just contains entries that I mean, we can try to decipher or try to understand. We kind of can because we don't typically, in let's say at a company or whether it be a small business or a larger enterprise, right? It would be a bit more difficult to read, but it would be slightly easier to read because of what it's pretty much all connected to what we've just done. But we can see all the attempts, whether they failed or were successful, which I believe they were all successful. It didn't really have any error messages or anything. But usually we need an NPS log reader to understand the contents of what we're looking at, right? So to do that, we can actually head to, let me not minimize it, but shrink the size of it. So go to the site here. It's going to go to a website that allows us to see. It doesn't. Nonetheless, you can use an NPS log reader, and you can go to a website that allows you to explain the contents of the NPS file that you're looking at, right? For the log. But nonetheless, we're going to move on to our next task, which is going to be to install tools to read the NPS logs. So we can read the logs with the NPS software tools like NPS Log Reader, IIS Viewer to understand them. So I'm just going to download them. All right. So just going to, let's see, back to the Server Manager. Let me refresh. I don't know why I just like doing it. Then just local server, right? Let's see. Let me actually make this bigger. I'm seeing everything on my screen. All right, so let's see. Properties should be on the page already. Oh. I don't know why I'm just blind today. I'm not sure what's going on. So should be the where is it here? That's not it. There it is. Okay. So I have to take my time. Yeah, I usually try to go a bit too fast. So just like getting things done, especially there's a lot to do. But nonetheless, so now that we see that the IE enhanced security configuration box is here, and we're just going to select the off switch for both. right here. All right, so it just needs to be switched off to block the downloading and installing tool. Well, they can block the installing and downloading tool for what we're about to use the tools for to read the NPS logs we were just referring to. So now that we have that toggled off, let's actually take that away. And then we can actually, let's see, open up Internet Explorer again. And then we're actually going to, I'm waiting for the thing here. Oh, I guess not. All right. So we're just going to download the tools here. We already have them available to us in our lab. There it is. All right. And we need the IIS viewer. It's going to open. There it is. Okay. Of course, we want to open. We want to extract all of it. All right. Extract. Perfect. All right. Yes, I certainly accept. Perfect. Let's see where it's going to be. It's going to be analysis. Okay, that's fine. Then IS viewer. I think mainly desktop. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, that's fine. I can. So once it's done, which it is now, I can just see it on the desktop. I can actually close all this out and launch this, and there we got it. All right, perfect. So you see this here, which is good. So now we see, okay, actually take a look at the records. So now we're just going to read the NPS logs. As I mentioned, now we have the viewer here. This is the right tool, usually one of the more popular ones. To understand the details about each attempted connection, right? Whether it's successful or failed. So we can just, take a look and examine these, right? Whether it's here, I usually just like to look here, personally. But nonetheless, just pretty much take a look and examine, and then just tells you the active input and output, what date, the time. I believe this is 3:50. I'm not sure for military time at least. But nonetheless, if we go here, we can just look at the item details, right? So you can just take a look at pretty much everything, right? The session, client name, username, and user IP and name and server IP and all of that jazz, right? Just details pretty much of the connection, right? Again, so just want to close that out. Then we can go back here. Actually, let's take a look here for those item details. It's actually a bit more detailed than the Connects one. Maybe because there was a bit more activity, at least from what I remember. So it's actually pretty nice. You can take a look at all of this, as long as you have, it tells you the port type and everything, the port number, frame protocol, PPP, which is pretty good, but nonetheless. So now we're just going to move on to our next task, which is going to be importing the network policy server templates. So usually there's more than one NPS server on a network, right? We can create files with similar formats across servers. So we can actually do this by exporting templates from one server to another. So this can just save us the effort of, redefining the templates for each server. So let's see. Yeah, we're good here. So let's actually exit out of here. Let me open this guy up again. No, there it is. That's what I meant to open up. So let's do that there. And you can open up. Okay. Perfect. All right. Then export templates to a file. Then let's do that there. All right. Shall I leave it as all? No, I mean, sometimes I can't. So that's fine. I made the decision for me. All right, so let's open this bad baby up again. All right, so let's think we're all in here. And let's see, I'm looking for, I just saved, this not it. Make sure it's in alphabetical order. Actually, I'm going to do it by document type because of the XML document, so it should be at the bottom. There it is. And we're going to, perfect. All right. So now the details of the stored templates, right? Now we can see them stored on the notepad here. And we can actually use this file to create more files on the same template. So, but yeah, that is pretty much the end of this video for configuring Radius. And again, for a brief recap, as far as the things that we've completed, we've installed the network policy server for Microsoft Radius, configure VPN ports, and we also viewed the NPS logs of the network policy server logs. And next, what we're going to do is actually install and configure network load balancing, and I'll see you there.